in my other life, I was a grad student of French literature, so I put some of this in here. Um, yeah, so Odile Vernet is the librarian of the Library of Fates. Again, it's the title of the book, which is a library at Harvard University that does not really exist. But in this book, it does. It's on the top floor of a building, and it's sort of a special, small, curated library where if you go in there and you ask the librarian for the book that you need, she will bring you the book that you need. It's magic. She'll sort of see into your heart and know what you need, or rather, the library itself will do that, working through the librarian. Um, but the Odile is not the main character. The main character is Eleanor, who's like Odile's librarian apprentice and has been doing that for most of her life. And at the beginning of the book, Odile has just died under somewhat suspicious circumstances in another university library, making Eleanor the librarian. But now she discovers that the Book of Dark Nights, the most valuable book in the library, has disappeared at the same time that Odile died, which is a little suspicious. And she has to go after it because the magic of the library depends on the Book of Dark Nights being there in it. The Book of Dark Nights is a book, an antique book. It's from the 18th century. It's old and crumbling. It's handmade. And supposedly, well, according to the legend that is attached to it, it was created by a witch who had a role in the court of the daughter of Louis XIV in France. And if you write your worst confession in this book and then close it and then open it again, you will see a prediction of your future in your own handwriting, and that prediction will be in the form of a literary quote. The book is more like, the Book of Dark Nights is more like sort of an album, because there's no actual text. Except every page says, "Let me read you." And then you write your confession, and then you get your literary quote prediction. So basically, it's just a series of pages like that, and each of them is in a different handwriting. So no, I didn't write the whole thing. Although I think it would be really interesting to do that, because the confessions go all the way back to the 18th century, French aristocrats. I mean, who knows what they were confessing back then. But throughout the book, I did sprinkle some of these confessions and predictions, and they become important to finding the book. And that was the part that was really hard to piece together, because it needed to be like a literary treasure hunt. And I needed to find literary quotes that were public domain so I could quote them for free. And they could be used as predictions for the characters. I really had to go through a lot of my old books to find these quotes. I mean, Eleanor has to find the book with Odile's son, Daniel, and they did have a love affair when they were college students, but that was almost 25 years ago. And he now doesn't remember that she even exists, which is a little bit mysterious to the reader, although eventually we will find out why. I always knew this book would have flashbacks in it because the characters have a past together that is important. When they were in college, but I didn't realize that the flashbacks would be almost half the book. I think they might be about half the book right now. And my first draft, which I was still writing this time last year, of the Library of Fates, I'll just show the book. My first draft was mostly in the present, or in 2019, as close to the present as I wanted to get. So there was a lot going on. I had to do this treasure hunt with clues, and they're on the Harvard campus, and then they're in Paris finding clues, and somebody is after them, and they're like getting to know each other again after a long absence, and sort of moving toward each other, and there's some romance going on, although like a lot of the romance that we see is in the earlier timeline in their past, where we see how they got together as students and what happened, how did it go wrong. So it was a lot to manage. in a relatively short book that was written very fast. I visualize everything. I'm really a visualizer. That's why I decided to send the characters to Paris, because I wanted to think about Paris. I wanted to dream about Paris. I mean, I haven't been there for decades, but it was nice to revisit that and think about it. Um, and yeah, this book, I mean, some of the scenes in it were written like at 3 a.m. because it just had to get done so quickly that I would be right up to the deadline and going over the whole last part of it in the middle of the night. And then I think that's when I wrote the very last scene of the book, like in the middle of the night, although I did revise it later. So we have in the past timeline, we have some other college students like Daniel's stoner buddy, Drew, and April, who's kind of like an uptight or sort of like a kind of a little bit of a mean girl. So it was kind of fun to do the interplay of those characters in the college context in the 1995 scenes. And in the present, we have the character, well, we have Odile in the past. She was maybe the most fun character to write because she was sort of based on a lot of professors I've known, especially foreign-born professors who were kind of imperious. Like they just had this mystique, this aura around them. And they were just like not taking any disrespect from students at all, but they could be very kind. It's just that you had to get through that forbidding exterior. So I really enjoyed writing Odile and her kind of sneaky sense of humor. And then there's Daniel's father, and I won't say who he is exactly, but because that's a little bit of a spoiler, but he was a fun character to write as well because he's kind of pretentious. And I have been through a whole PhD program, so I've had a lot of experience with pretentious people that I drew on for this book. I mean, I've never done the actual, like, what I would call a revenge character, where the character who's based on someone you hate is just kind of there to be killed off or whatever. So I've never done that because I think because once I create a character, I have to get inside that character and I have to think a lot about that character. So if I really hate the person, I might not want to do that. I might not, but I don't know. I'm fascinated by dark personalities, sociopathic personalities. So having those as the antagonist is always really interesting to me. And I have known people like that in real life as well. So there's a transformation process. But it's definitely satisfying to portray those aspects of people. So I enjoy going somewhere in my head, which is why it's really hard for me to write a book with a setting I don't like. Harvard was actually a little bit harder because the place is so intense. I mean, I did spend 4 years there as an undergraduate, so I do have lots of memories from there, actually from even earlier than 1995. But I had to do a lot of research too, because so many things there have changed. Things I remember very well are totally gone. But like I don't really want to be mentally back there. I mean, it's a great place. It's a beautiful campus, but it's just sort of it's urban and it's really intense and stressful for me. I prefer to be in a more like rural setting. So that was not entirely easy. But at the same time, it gave me so many great places. Like Harvard has like a theater in the basement of a dorm that used to be a swimming pool for most of the 20th century. It has all these cool things that I really enjoyed using. And of course, you know, Paris. I mean, it gave me an excuse to look at photos of the Shakespeare and Company bookstore on the quays where I used to hang out. Just a lot of really beautiful places.